And you had such a fascinating, you have such a fascinating wealth of information to draw from,
Thank you.
Samantha. I'm really happy you're here to share time, space, ideas, and thoughts with us, but especially timely as the country is trying to find its balance in the new world order, whatever that wants to look like. And my experience in my body, trauma informed and all of that, is that when the pandemic happened and I went back to the kitchen to learn to cook because I didn't know how to be in there without cutting or burning myself, I learned some things. I had avoided domestic duties my entire life because my mama, I'm not going to be that, so I
No,
will be
that's
this.
right.
So I suited up, showed up, did the corporate thing, did all the stuff. When I went back in there and found out there is an artistic expression, there is joy, there is embodiment. And
Yeah.
so is it a book that you've written about? And what is the name of that book?
Yeah, it's called Stirred by Earth.
Yes.
And yeah, it's honestly like the book, it's so hard to like explain this book because it's definitely a culmination of so many things to me. I know that a reader who goes and buys this book off of the shelf is going to see it as a cookbook with some extra stuff in it other than just recipes.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like my whole life
Yeah.
in a sort of a hidden story of this cookbook. There's a
A
lot.
few recipes thrown in.
That's right. That's about 125 recipes.
Okay. So tell me about, I mean, we've heard food as medicine, we've heard alchemy, we've heard all the words. We know all the embodiment practices, and I know a lot of women over 40 have been checking the box of health and wellness for maybe even decades
Yeah.
without having that interconnection, the soul work that goes with it.
I, yeah. I mean, I think that that's one of the biggest parts of wellness that we like we forget. It's like we start on the outside and we forget about the insides in a certain degree. And I think for me, like food, my story, my journey. I haven't been like, some like renowned chef or anything like that. No, I actually was a career driven. I've got two businesses. I've been in the healthcare industry for 30 years. It's very high pressure, high stress. I've helped, corporate entities scale and build, and I watched while I was dealing with all of this stuff in my own personal life, raising children on my own. I have dealt with certain traumas as a woman. I have an interracial family,
Okay.
so I've dealt with some systemic issues that are traumatic. All of these things throughout the story of my journey thus far
Mhm.
have brought me to this, initially it brought me to this place of survival. Like, how do I survive in this space? And socioeconomically, how do I take care of myself
Yeah.
in a way that, I can afford. And food became sort of a central point of that for me. I've always loved to be creative in the kitchen. It's been a domestic duty of mine
Uh-huh.
for a long time because I was a single mom for, the first half. So somebody had to feed the kids.
Yeah.
And I think that as I started getting really interested in my own healing and my own health, I recognized our deep disconnect to this resource that we have every single day, that we spend time with every single day. And it's
Yeah.
our food, it's our breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all those things. And so, yeah, so I actually decided to study herbalism
Okay.
several years ago. And I had no interest in being like a, clinical herbalist that diagnoses people's conditions and all of that. However, I deeply recognize the power that
Yeah.
plants carry and how underutilized this ancient wisdom is.
Mhm.
And so I decided to incorporate it into my cooking to very specifically support and nourish my family and myself as we were navigating different things. So if I knew we were going to have a stressful week, I was going to be integrating some, chicken that was marinated with ashwagandha oil that I'd been, cooking up in the apothecary for a while. So that's kind of how I've tried to pull in like wellness into my food
Mhm.
survival for me. My hope is that I can help people thrive
Uh-huh.
in their kitchen rather than
Yeah.
using it as a survival tool.
So one of the things we like to do when Voice Evolving is because people can get your book. Let's just start there. Where do they get your book?
Yeah, so it will be officially launched in April and it'll be all over Barnes and Noble, Amazon, all the places that you buy books. I'll have it there. I do have a website for the book. It's stirredbyearth.com, so you can learn all about it there. But we're in the pre-order phase right now. So you can pre-order the book and get some extra fun little goodies. And then officially in April, you'll be able to get it everywhere.
Wonderful. So what we like to do is say, okay, so here's the forward facing, here's the public persona. And then I like to go behind the curtain to the
Yeah.
real life of the real woman who did the real work that can be given as nuggets and pointers to other women like you, like us, who
Mhm.
have been disconnected from our bodies by diet culture or by trauma or by whatever. What has to shift in our mindset,
Yeah.
you know, in order to even prepare the way for me to learn how to receive food in a nourishing way. It can be as nutrient full as it wants to be. And if I'm driven by stress, it is not going to matter.
That's so true. I'll answer this question from what it was for me, like what had to happen for me. Because I genuinely think in all of the conversations that I've had that coming to this space of figuring out, how to incorporate wellness or how to take care of ourselves and how to get connected to that or reconnected to that through all of the things we go through is really personal and it depends on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, for me, I feel like the switch kind of went off. Well, I had a health crisis.
Okay.
I was a mother very young, and became a mother sort of out of tragedy. I had a pretty significant trauma. I had a home invasion at 19. Very shortly after, I realized I was pregnant and I had some big decisions to make. And so I decided to have my beautiful, wonderful adult son now, who is an individual I deeply admire. And starting at that moment, like that trauma entry into my adult life,
Yeah.
it redirected everything, redirected my career path, redirected everything. And I think at that point is where everything started to kind of unravel before it had even like started to be, I was just a baby adult.
Yeah.
And, things were just I never had the opportunity to really spend time in self-discovery at that point because I had somebody else to take care of. There was somebody else that I was really focused on. And I think in my, mid 20s, I started gaining a lot of weight. I was struggling with that. There was just other like micro traumas that were happening at that time. I was in a very toxic workplace, a toxic relationship. It was bad. I was unraveling as a human being. And then about, I don't know, several years ago, I I just could feel everything in my body. Like I was unwell, very unwell. Fatigue. I mean, it was a culmination of like here I am, like, entering my 40s and,
Right.
perimenopausal, all of those fun, good things. But then carrying all of these layers of trauma and stress and anxiety over the years that I just did nothing with.
Right.
For me, it showed up in, test results that alarmed me. I had really high ferritin levels, which I had no
Okay.
idea what that was at the time, but it was indicating that there was some pretty big issues with my liver, which I was like, what? I'm not a drinker. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
and it was a wake up call. I felt terrible in my life. And I think at that point, where I'd always kind of taken time to prepare meals, I was
Mhm.
doing it unintentionally. Like it was really just about like getting the job done
Yes.
versus what could this do for me. And so that health crisis, which I genuinely believe was this like culmination of all these years of things that I had, just not dealt with,
Mhm.
was what really woke me up. And from there, one of the things that really helped me was doing some work with internal family systems.
Mhm.
And I found an incredible, healer and therapist that kind of guided me through that. And my work now, almost on a daily basis, is being deeply connected to the parts of me
Yeah.
that exist inside
Mhm.
that sometimes try to dominate,
Yeah.
the young Sam, the young 10-year-old Sam, the 19-year-old Sam.
Mhm.
They're there. They're still there. And I have learned and recognized how to see them
Mhm.
and build trust with those parts of myself, but not allow them to dominate the decisions, the conversations, the communication, the outward part of me. And that plays a part in the way that I was eating and all of that too. And so I've really tried to sort of take charge of those parts of me and be the soul of Sam gets to dominate all of the decisions around me now. And
Mhm.
food has been one of my best healers for
Mhm.
my physical body, but also
Mhm.
my mental health. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And were you able to get to a root cause at all for what what food had become versus what it is now for you?
I don't, not definitively. I
Okay.
think that it's been difficult for me to pinpoint what it was versus what it is, other than one factor. Um, this is kind of hard to talk about, but let's just do it. I feel safe here.
And if you decide after the fact that you spoke too much, I want you to speak freely now, and we will take the whole section out if you prefer.
That's so kind. But these are the things I think we should talk about, right?
Okay.
So I'll be brave. I young age, I never struggled with my weight or anything like that. I was an attractive young woman.
Mhm.
And my the tragedy that I experienced, I was sexually assaulted with the home invasion at 19. Someone broke into my home and I was sexually assaulted. That really changed me, and it changed the way I looked at my body. I felt like my body was
Mhm.
exposing me to danger,
Mhm.
and I think that through some of the work that I've done,
Mhm.
the weight that I put on from like that moment until not too long ago became sort of an armor for
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
in the world around me. If we're navigating with, like a hot bod and, good hair and all of that, it can feel unsafe in many, many places. And it did to me. I felt unsafe.
Mhm.
So I packed on pounds and I armored up.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't until doing really deep work to
Mhm.
understand some of my traumas and the need for healing that I was able to uncover that I did not need to protect myself that way. And in fact, it was quite unhealthy. And I'm safe to be seen. Visibility is okay. And it's strange because for years, Kim, I tried to lose weight,
Yeah.
but I did all the things.
Mhm.
But the one thing that I didn't do was really deal with that internal dialogue of safety or being unsafe in the world. That was like the turning point in which I noticed my body releasing weight. Like, okay, like it's
Right.
safe now. So I think that that had a lot to do with like what it looked like then versus what it looks like now is my courage to be seen,
Right.
and letting go of the armor.
And there is such a theme in trauma survivors and how our body protects us as much as we want to fight to fit the mold and make people happy and be good enough and all of that. And that, I used to say, your head's out to get you. The committee, when the committee's in, it just runs. And
That's
what you described earlier, and it runs away with you. What
right.
you described earlier was how you are now the chairman of the board of
Right.
your committee of your inner dialogue. And for me, it was EMDR therapy that
Mhm.
allowed me
Yeah.
to get the emotional triggers off of the trauma enough that I could have safety enough within myself to be able to take the memory out, do what I needed to do with it, and
Yeah.
then put it back away
Yeah.
so I could go have my life, my children, my all the things. That ability, that trust in self to be able to take it out, have the tools to cry or scream or whatever you need to do, and then put it back away
Yeah.
was so empowering and
Yeah.
changed the trajectory of my life. Because if I could do that with that trauma, I
That's
could
right.
go with just about everything. And it is today in the shit show of life in
Mhm.
2026,
Yeah.
one of the things that keeps me anchored. The other thing is that I had a body. I've been obese my entire life from childhood stuff that you didn't know what it was. I was raised to think it was my fault. It was because
Yeah.
of me. It was something wrong with me. Turns out dieting was half of the culprit. If I knew then what I know now, I never would have gone on a diet, but I became a professional dieter for
Yeah.
50 years, right?
Hmm.
And that metabolic damage is done.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that whole part where now, for the first time in my life, I have that body I dreamed of, but I have the white hair and the to go
Oh,
with
you're
it.
beautiful.
So I'm thank you.
Yes.
But I'm not feeling as at risk. But I can tell you the first time, because the pandemic happened, and the first time I went out last year to a consulting gig in another state in this body, traveling and all that, it was like I didn't know how to be in the world
Yeah.
in a size they could cart you off.
Yeah.
My my stability came from the fact that I outweighed
Hmm.
most of the people who would try to accost me, and I had a kick ass and take names attitude to go with it. So I could stop you at a glance. I don't armor like that. I don't want to armor like that. The body isn't what made or broke that.
Yeah.
It was the shift inside
Right.
first that
Yeah.
allowed me to go in the kitchen without thinking it would make me like my mother. That
Yeah.
allowed me to say, if it doesn't taste good, I'm going to spit it out.
Hmm.
And that allowed me to find out that I only like to cook if I can put my fingers in it. I love making things that I have to use my hands to mix. It is a kinesthetic joy
That's
that
right.
I didn't know existed.
I love that so much. I that resonates a lot with me, like everything that you said. And I do think that, I mean, if we were just talking about, our bodies in this conversation and journeys of weight loss and all of that, I feel like, which is something that just I feel like so many women that I talk to have traveled that journey, whether it's on a really drastic scale or a small scale. But I think that we cannot just focus on food and, exercise in that journey of weight loss. That was my big awakening, is that it has a lot to do with the noise inside of us.
Mm.
In fact, maybe more than anything else. It has a lot to do with the noise inside of us and,
Yeah.
the things that we've just kind of like layered down inside and, not appropriately, dealt with. The body keeps score of those things.
Does. And when things get buried, what I found is that they get buried alive.
They do.
And that's why recovery is so hard, is because when it comes up, it came up exactly where you left it when you were 6 or 14 or whatever it is. If I was pissed off then, I'm going to be way.
Way more pissed off now.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah. When
really.
I feel it now, I could really do some damage.
Oh,
And people don't tell you that. You think, oh, there's no point bringing it up because, you can't change the past. No, but you can sure change the story you tell yourself about it. And
yeah.
that changes your biochemistry. That changes your cortisol effect, the stress effect. And if you don't think that cortisol is real, you just watch what happens to your body when there's a tragedy in your environment.
Yes.
You want to see a plateau? It has nothing to do with calories in, calories out. It has
That's
everything to do with what are you losing sleep over?
that's right. That is so insanely true. Yes.
So
Yeah.
with your medical background and all of the herbalist and stuff that you've done, how do what did you learn? Perimenopause, you've been through it all. Let's talk about the flow of those hormones and
Yeah.
what that does to your brain and your body.
Oh my gosh. What a time. I will tell you. I mean, my body just like shut down. I feel like I'm hoping
Mhm.
that we will have a lot more conversations as women, and men
Yes.
about what it means to sort of transition in this space of like our bodies and hormones and all of that. It was rough. I went through a very, very rough time dealing with just all of the symptoms and not having advocacy. Like I struggled. The healthcare industry is just very broken.
Yes,
I mean, I
it
feel like
is.
that's a whole nother podcast for another day, right? Right, Kim? But I think that, I'm there. It seems as though it should have been easier to get answers for what was going on.
Mhm.
I'm a woman. Am at the age where these things start to happen, but yet we were talking about every other possible thing going on with my body aside from like hormones didn't even come up
Right.
until I had like it was me. I was my own very best advocate. And I would, that would be one thing I would just really encourage any listener here is that when you're going through a health crisis, like where I would love to tell you, like, trust everybody that, you go in and see and talk to, hopefully you have those relationships with your physician, but you will be your best advocate and your best tool and resource is embodiment, is being able to deeply listen to your own body and trust what you hear. Trust it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I could have resolved some of the health issues I had been dealing with had I just done exactly that. Had I trusted my own intuition about my own body and been a little bit more loud in
Mhm.
the space of, at the time, what were mostly male doctors telling me what was wrong with my body, and then still us not getting anywhere with, the symptoms that I had been dealing with. And it wasn't until I was like, I'm like, this is what we're doing. We're going to
Mhm.
do a full panel on
Yeah.
me, and and you're going to give it to me, and I'm going to study it myself. That's exactly what I did because I did suspect that I had some deep hormonal imbalance,
Mhm.
and I did. I mean, I was like walking around with like no hormones in my but my levels were like zero. I had nothing in me.
Mhm.
And so we were able to from there to be able to really, impact the what I was doing, how I was treating that, how I was getting myself back to balance there, which I used a combination of, modern medicine or HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and herbs. I'm doing both. I have a regimen that I use now, and I feel better than I have felt in I can't remember how long. So it's a
Yeah.
journey, and we have to advocate for ourselves. The healthcare industry is built for volume and high capacity of patients, which means we are, I mean, it's about money and production and how much we can earn in that industry. It's ridiculous. It's not about the word care it's hard to locate in healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that when you said, medical community is something for another day. And I thought, or for today, because 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 I had the same experience in perimenopause, and they put me on. I ended up on an antidepressant for 15 years that should have only lasted two. I was on antidepressant for 15 years, hormone replacement therapy, and you know and I did hormone replacement at my insistence because one day I was in a corporate meeting after the fan at my desk on, off, on, off, on, off every 10 minutes. People were looking at me funny. And I was in a meeting one day, a corporate meeting, and it had floor to ceiling windows and none of them opened. And I had a hot flash.
Oh, no.
And I, for a moment, had a vision of me breaking through the glass, just jump out the window because I couldn't take it anymore.
Yes.
I went from there. I worked for a cardiology practice. I went from there across the hall to my internal medicine. I said, "You have to do something
Something
now."
now.
2 weeks on hormone replacement. The rage attacks I was having were gone. The night
Yeah.
sweats. I used to stand in the snow
Yep.
buck ass naked because we lived
Yep.
out in property just to breathe and
Cool
cool.
off.
It's
Mm-hmm.
awful. People don't get it.
It's terrible.
But more than that, my brain came back and I didn't notice my brain had been gone, but I was so foggy and so not
Yeah.
that has been the part I've kept. And I do bioidenticals and I have done those now for way more decades than you want to talk about.
Yeah.
My doctor's still saying, well, you're a certain age, you could get off of those. Nope.
Yeah.
Unless
That
you give me a good
saved
reason
my
to,
life.
I'm still on a honeymoon here and I'm staying.
I love that.
If you've been had Sahara Desert Drive, you don't get it.
Yeah, it's very true.
Right? Not doing it.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. My mom and I talk about that all the time.
It's
And
real.
it's so I mean, it's hard to articulate the difference in then and today in how I feel and all the things that you're describing, like just the body, the mind, my fogginess, my ability to focus,
Right.
like the connect, like I feel like me again. It's like I found her, and
Yes.
hormones can just you up. I don't know if I can say that on here, but I just did. We can bleep that one out.
No, we won't. It's my favorite word.
I like you.
See?
But yeah, I feel like that was life changing for me. And I just it kind of like there was part of me that like was like pissed off for a while. Like why did we not like I lost years of my
Yes.
life
Yeah.
and my vitality and
Mhm.
sleep and all kinds of things during a time frame just because, it feels as though we
Yeah.
do not prioritize women. We do not. Like, it doesn't feel. We
No.
do not prioritize women's health, and there is an ignorance around how we should be, addressing that in healthcare. So,
And I don't think we can address the healthcare gap without addressing the fact that medical schools are patriarchal
oh my
driven.
gosh,
And that whole idea of little lady, you don't know what's wrong with you. I'm the professional
right?
and we go in there with all of our cultural conditioning, which has spent by the time you're 40,
Yeah,
you spent 38 years learning to still be
right.
quiet, don't make waves, and that you can't trust your body. If you were in diet culture, and I was from 8 years old, I
Yeah.
was taught to power through, to
Yes.
not listen, to disconnect. I didn't know what I liked. I thought if it didn't taste good, it was good for you.
Yeah.
Wrong.
That's very wrong. Yeah.
So, yeah. So that whole cultural condition, I call that diet mentality. And I have a food noise quiz on our website for people who want to look beneath the food, but
Mhm.
food noise is what people think they need a solution to. And I'm like, yes, you do. So change the story we're telling ourselves from the ground up.
Yeah.
It changes.
It changes everything. It
Yeah.
really does. And I think that that was that for me, what you just said was the exact awakening. It was like, when I stopped listening to everybody else around me,
Yes.
I just listened to myself and I trusted that voice. I trusted my body talking to me. I trusted myself. And now that is the person in charge, the person in charge of the committee up here, right? Like that's who's dominating my life now. And it took like really quieting that noise of, systemic
Yes.
conditioning, beliefs, old beliefs, all of those things for me to move through to the other side. Yeah.
So I want to start a segment right now. We're
Let's
about
do it.
4 minutes in. Let's do it. You
Let's
said bring it. Okay.
bring it.
About when trust is broken.
Mm,
Because you have a corporate background and so do I. And I've gone in and done team building and trust building and all of that. And it's a lot easier to never lose trust than it is to regain it once it's gone.
so much.
Now, wisp of your life, not trusting yourself or your body, purposefully not listening. I want to talk about how do we help the women who are watching this, who identify but don't know how to listen to their body. How
Yeah.
would you know if it was your head or your body anyway? What
Yeah.
are the baby beginning steps that you would take people through?
I love this question so much because my answer is almost so like simple that people are going to be like, oh, whatever. But I think that as women, so I'll start here.
Okay.
I think that as women, we are very like we are masters at multitasking and we have high capacity
We
for
do.
many, many things,
Mhm.
which is superhero like. Good for us.
Mhm.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Should we, though? Is my question.
Mhm.
And the answer to that is yes, sometimes, sure. Absolutely. Like, go for it. Like, if that's what feels good. But prioritizing time where we can just get quiet. We have nothing. We don't have someone asking for our help. We need that. So to me, like, how do we listen to our body? Well, you got to turn the volume down of everything else around you if you want to be able to hear it. It's literally just as simple as that. And I think for me, like, I didn't actually even realize that I needed a hot minute by myself in the middle. For me, it's going, I call it dirt church. It's going out into nature, going on a hike, taking a blanket and a notebook and a pen and laying down in the middle of a forest, or I am quieted by nature. So I would tell a woman listening, like, where is a space, like a physical, actual space that makes you feel safe and that's quiet and that allows you to just stop and listen to everything inside and nothing outside. And I think that for when I started doing this, so I started like, dabbling in meditation many years ago. And this was sort of that like awakening to like, whoa, like it's quiet. And like there's all these crazy like like random thoughts, like just racing through my head. In like, a 20-minute meditation session, I could probably have, 250 thoughts about dinner and, next week's meeting and, what am I going to wear tomorrow? And, I got to plan this. And that's the noise that is constantly inundated in our minds. And if we want to learn how to deeply listen to our bodies, we first have to just be able to like quiet everything. And I don't think that we're super strong at that because of the responsibilities that we have as women. We haven't been afforded the luxury of low capacity, high volumes of quiet, focused, deep presence.
Mhm.
And so I mean, I would say that's the first thing. If you want to really learn how to listen to your body, you have to be able to turn down the volume. And in the beginning, when you've been just in a noisy life for so long, that takes practice. And it's about, and there's something deeper to that. Like to me, there's like, if we can do that collectively as a human race, we could probably change a lot in our world for the better if we
Mhm.
could have a calm, quieted consciousness. And it's a deep gift to yourself if you're able to actually tap into that. So for me, it's I go outside
Yep.
and I don't take the phone
Mhm.
and I pay attention to what
Mhm.
I think, to what I see, to
Mhm.
what I smell. And
Mhm.
then I can pay really close attention to what I feel. Like what is happening in my body. And then I've used that for, a whole elevated,
Mhm.
practice in my day-to-day life with food and herbs and body movement and,
Okay.
whatever, all the things.
Yeah.
But to me, it's about getting quiet. I think that's our first big step is like you got to go somewhere, go wherever you got to go to
Mhm.
get in that quiet space where you can hear what your body's
And the
saying.
language of your soul is unique to you. So
That's
you
right.
can't watch the way I do it and go try to turn it into a cookie cutter for a 10-minute meditation or a 30-minute meditation or whatever it is. I meditated for an hour a day for a couple of years during that time. And I noticed that it took 32 and a half minutes for my mind to shut the F up
Oh
so
my
I could
God.
hear anything. And
Yes.
the last 10 minutes were inspirational magic for moving my life forward.
Love that.
But the only way I could sit still, I used to say, "Oh no, I can't shut it off and I need to make notes," and I put all my stuff away. And I realized, you know what? I binge on Netflix all the time. Now, if I could sit my ass still on a couch for 2 hours to watch a movie, I can certainly watch the movie of my mind. And when
Oh,
I did it that way, and I still do it. It works really well. I don't have to spend an hour anymore because,
yeah.
I had years of practice. But but I just if I wake up at 4 a.m. and it's not going back to sleep, instead of scrolling through my phone or playing a game, getting my eyes tired
I love it.
because that never works. I just go, okay, let's see what's playing on the movie tonight. And I just close my eyes and I just watch. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it centers me and calms me. And so I used to have to like go to a beach, or I would, in my early hypnosis meditation days, I had a safe place I had to conjure up. I don't have to do that anymore because I am my safe place and I am that prayer that is ever present. It
Yes.
is it is such a different lifestyle than
Yes.
the hustle factor,
Oh gosh.
hustle culture that wants to envelop me still,
Yeah.
and the hassle factor that I used to have because I put everybody's time more
Yeah.
valuable than my own. And
Oh my God.
now this is my sacred space. This is why I love working with women over 40
Yeah.
because it takes till about that stage of life for enough of the genuine responsibility of making dinner for three kids out of
Mhm.
the way so you could. You
Right.
can't expect
That
somebody 25 with children
that's right.
to meditate for 15 minutes a day. Good luck with that. I couldn't get a shower.
That's so true. That's so real. And I mean, I think that's so true. And I think that like, what resonated with what you said is like, there was a point in time in the beginning of like this practice of learning to listen to yourself or observe yourself, that it required something of me. Like it required me to go, like to physically go somewhere, and I still am the most effective when I do that. But now I think it's become a lot easier. It's like, once you learn a skill, like it becomes easier over time. And for me, like just tapping into that presence has become a lot easier the more practice I've gotten. I actually have a section in my book that's called Kitchen Rituals. And it's my it speaks to exactly what we're talking about. It's my effort in cooking and being in the kitchen to pull presence into a moment. So even if it's for 2 minutes and we're doing this like task that has it's a responsibility of ours to feed our family or cook for the kids or feed ourselves, whatever, and we're in that kitchen and we're sitting there with that, instead of like looking at the situation as like a task or a duty or whatever, like flipping that mindset and choosing the mindset that we want in that moment and just tapping into present and embodying ourselves in those moments of actually cooking, to like just use any space I have while I'm stirring a pot and I'm making this motion with my arm, that I'm so grateful for this, warm pot of soup, and the fire that is making it warm, and the arm that is able to stir it, and the mind that's able to create the spice combination that's present here. That right there took me 10 seconds to say to you. And equally in my kitchen, when I'm doing my thing and it's not necessarily what I want to be doing, I can still choose to be embodied in that moment and choose presence to help me feel my body and see where I'm at mentally. And so like that early, like I'm scheduling an hour to go out into the woods and meditate, has turned into where can I actually capture a moment of presence and embodiment to stay centered and to be deeply connected to everything that I'm doing and choosing moving.
Yes, yes. And being present in your body,
Mm.
uh, I wouldn't even be able, when I was doing affirmations, and I
Mhm.
would do an affirmation in the mirror, I'd go, liar. Okay, that's like, that is not helpful.
Mhm.
And when I get out of balance now, like I have in the last week over current events, right? Then I have said, box breathing is not cutting it here. Okay, I'm gonna need a little something else here.
Need something more.
Yeah, yeah.
Need something.
And so we all have all, some of us don't, but we practitioners have all the tools in the toolbox. But
Yeah.
sometimes life presents us something that we've never come across before.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite word now, unprecedented. And when that happens, I go to my toolbox and it's like nothing that has worked before is working. And that's when I find community. The
Yes.
women, it when where women gather, magic happens.
It's so true.
And
That's
that is that ancient wisdom and that connectedness and that vibe that would change the world if women of a certain age, and the certain age is perimenopause and beyond.
us.
I mean, that veil comes off and baby, it doesn't go back down every 28 days.
Right.
You get what you get now.
Right.
And that's right. And this is when I say this is not your mama's menopause. My mother never had the agency or the options
Yeah.
or the platform that we have the ability to not only to help other women, but to see ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
So I get to meet myself in a way that my mother it wasn't even a glimmer in her eye.
That is so true. That's true for my mother as well. I that resonates. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that. Like, thank you, mothers, for, carrying what you did,
Mhm.
so that we can build community, with deep, deep, meaningful purpose and love and all of that. Yeah, community is where I have to go to when I've like, when have
Right.
absolved all of the things. It's like, okay, where are my sisters? I got to go find my sisters, you know?
And there was a time in my life I didn't trust women. It wasn't until my 40s that I realized I am not going to make it through this life without some feminine energy here.
That's right. I mean, same because I don't know. I mean, being in corporate,
Yeah.
it's very masculine, and that I didn't actually realize that until I really did start to develop deep, community with sisters. And yeah, I think we all need that. I think that's something that will we women will heal and change this world. It is
Yes.
that will
Yes.
do that. And I created a Facebook group not too long ago. And the name that I came up with it was very rooted in this idea of, the ancient wisdom of women and an ancient time where women would walk to the well together to
Yes.
gather water and bring it back to the village. And, in my mind, I imagine the conversations and the support that unfolded on those walks to the well. And I think we need to just hold tight to that ancient wisdom
Yes.
and unify us women to heal this very disturbing and broken dynamic that I see unfolding on the news every single morning and at
Yeah.
night. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So to that point,
Mm.
so I know that in the toolbox are the when you are triggered, look for five red things around you, count the things. You can't think and feel at the same time if you engage your brain. But if you engage your brain and your cortisol is high, then
Mhm.
you've lost your seat at the table of trying to steer the conversation. Words
Mhm.
of wisdom, ideas, things I don't already know. Come on, what do you
Yeah.
got?
I don't know. I think you know a lot, Kim. I think you know a lot. Yeah, I being triggered, ooh, that's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to emotionally stabilize
Mhm.
is again, I believe, a very personal practice.
Right.
Um, and it takes practice, and we have to be willing to do that. I know a lot of people that just don't even actually know that they've been emotionally triggered.
Right. They're just reacting.
They're just reacting. And I would encourage you, like first, like just like those are the moments where we can learn a lot about our body. When
Mhm.
we've been, if we are in a situation where we're reacting, if you can, in that triggered and heightened state of mind, pay attention. Is your heart beating faster? Are you sweating? Do you feel like rage tendencies, like like what's happening in your body? Those are great signals to maybe some things that you can do. For me, when I'm emotionally triggered or what, I mean, I do breathe. I do use breath as my tool. That has been my go-to. But I'm a tea time girl. Like I will very like that is my one go-to now. I make a cup of tea. And I joke about this all the time because when you're watching like a good movie and there's like a heightened situation and somebody's there for you. I'm just going to put on some tea right now. Like in the movies, like something bad is happening. Somebody says, I'm going to go I'm going to go put some tea on. We'll be right back. And that's like ancient wisdom. I think that there's a lot to be said. It sounds so cliche and it sounds so like, Hollywood movie. But the reality is just sitting with something like tea, it does two things. It gets the body involved. We've now like, centered ourselves with something warm and
Mhm.
comforting and soothing. And then it's filled, if you know what you're doing, it's filled with a concoction that can genuinely change the chemistry within.
Yes.
So my tip in an emotionally triggered situation is tea time.
I love that. You have tea recipes in your book?
I do. I do. And
Awesome.
actually, on my Facebook page, I do Tuesday tea with Sam. So every Tuesday, I usually take some pictures of what blend I'm putting together from. I have an apothecary in my home where I've just got jars of beautiful herbs all over the place that I work with, and so yeah, my favorite tea recipe for an emotionally triggered situation is I will blend lemon balm, one of my favorites, chamomile
Mhm.
or chamomile, depending on tomato, tomato, uh, lavender and rose petal. It's so tasty. It's a very like light tea, and it is hitting you at all corners with nervous system regulation. And so it's my favorite little brew for an emotionally heightened situation for sure.
And so is there a fast food version of that or do you just
You know what?
from
That's a good question. I'm sure there is. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is, but I always tend to, when I do like my Tuesday tea post, I'll do my own version of like, here's like what I blend from my apothecary and my stock of herbs, but here's a substitute, to like brand and
Yeah,
tea that has similar herbs that will accomplish the same thing. So off the top of my head, I don't know what that one is for the lemon balm, chamomile, rose petal, lavender concoction, but I'm sure there is celestial seasonings or stash. They probably have something that, complements that.
well, I will be coming to Tuesday
Yes,
tea
join us for
with
Tuesday
Sam,
tea.
and
Yes,
I would like to invite you sometime to come into Coffee with Kim in the Cove, which is our private group,
I love that.
to just to share a tea or a moment or a minute, and
I love
let's do that. You are a delight. You are just a delight.
Thank you, Kim. So are you. I feel a lot of synergy here.
Thank you.
For those of you listening, I'm literally just meeting Kim, and like, I feel like I've maybe known you for years in some way, somehow. So maybe soul sister. I don't know. You're
So, parting thoughts for our guests in this new thing. What
Yeah.
what what do you want to leave them with?
Um, Self-care, taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself, whatever label you want to throw on that. It's not a
Mhm.
luxury. It's not meant for someone in a certain socioeconomic level. It's meant for all of us. And no matter where you are, I have had a lot of money and I've had a little bit of money. I've had no money in my
Yeah.
life. I've struggled and I have succeeded.
Mhm.
There are ways to prioritize yourself and your needs and
Mhm.
your deep understanding of who you are and what you need in every moment without any money at all. And in fact, if you are a struggling individual with the do that. If you have no money, find ways to take care of yourself. Call me, and I'll give you the free versions of everything you can do to take care of yourself. But the bottom line is that if we want a healed, better world, we have to heal ourselves first. And that comes with prioritizing and understanding what we truly need at the core of everything. So nourish yourselves and take time for yourselves. And don't let anybody boss you around about that. You know what you need and trust that. Trust what you know you need and ask for it and get it. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
I love it. And sometimes what you want and what you need are the same thing.
That's exactly
We
right.
shame ourselves out of the wants because we don't really need it. Oh no, if it's your heart's desire, you need it.
Yes, Kim. High five on that. I love that. Yes, queen. Yes.